a bloodthirsty Mickey Mouse, an incredulous Mark Tasker thinking about weasels and autoerotic asphyxiation, and a batshit movie that somehow got made and somehow became an instant classic. It's a head scratcher of an episode, handwritten. Oh! Ah! Welcome to Written Off, a movie/screenwriting podcast all about movies. That's right, not the great movies. No. There are plenty of podcasts out about those, and not about the crap movies. No, there are also plenty of those podcasts too. No, I'm talking about the ones that go under the rug, the ones that you forgot about. Yeah, you saw them. You saw them with your sister, your friend, your partner, your dog. You saw these movies and you were like, And then years later, you're scrolling through a streaming service, your buddy's talking about them, and you're like, oh, that movie? Oh, that was so Well, that's what we focus on here because we are quality. I'm getting louder and louder. It makes me sound like a Klingon. We are a quality podcast. Kabla!
I actually watched a thing. Hello, everyone. I watched a little documentary, and Christopher Plummer, apparently, they wrote a line. It was supposed to be Shakespearean Klingon for the film he's in, and he didn't like it, so they had to change it. So it was like, instead of it was or whatever it was.
Anyway, I'm your host, Bradley Freeman. Thank you for joining us. With me, as always, is my co-host, Mark. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
We like to start, as always, with a chat about what we've been seeing or doing recently. What have you been watching as of late?
I feel this is rapidly turning into the part of the podcast where I just say stuff that I've watched and look like a clever man. But I watched The Innocents. If I see a review of a film that I think might be interesting, I just keep it as a tab. So I've got 197 tabs open on my phone. I don't bother making a list. I keep it as a tab. Some may say it's a bit stupid, but is what I've always done. And The Innocents was another one. It's a supernatural film that doesn't really acknowledge the fact that it's supernatural until probably the end. It's a little bit like what Brightburn was trying to do. Do you remember that? The little boy that has like Superman-like powers. When did that film come out? Probably 10 years ago? 2019. Have you seen it?
Oh, yeah, I enjoyed that. That was good.
The first half of it is kind of like that. These kids sort of accidentally realize they've got these powers. Similar to that film, one of the children starts to use the powers in a way that he shouldn't. Very nice, simple script. I was watching a video about how you should reveal exposition, and the video maker said, do it as late as you can. And in this case, they just never do it. But it doesn't matter. The interior logic of the film, you don't worry about where the powers have come from. You kind of understand that it's not going to be explained, and any way of explaining it would be probably hokey and annoying. So they just say, okay, we won't explain it, but you'll buy into it because the kids are discovering it at the same time, and it just feels like a kind of magic. Very strong recommend. And as I mentioned to you, I don't know if I've ever seen such good child acting before. Incredible, because they're not acting and they're doing things which are supernatural, and yet their reactions to it feel so authentic. I would wonder how you would feel, obviously, having two boys who are around the same age as the protagonist. So be curious to see how you felt about how they acted, because to me it felt like, wow, how did they get them to respond like that?
I've seen a lot of good kid actors in foreign language films.
Yeah,
and I wonder if the language, the fact that I'm listening intently, but I'm reading the subtitles, I wonder if that plays a part in it. Yeah, I wonder if that's the case. But still, that sounds pretty cool. Does it all rest on their shoulders?
Oh, absolutely. 95%, yeah. It's like the classic Spirited Away. New kids arrive in a new area and they've got to discover it. And it's similar to Spirited Away. It discusses kind of kids coming out of innocence. How do they make that progression? How do they hold on to childish things? I felt it was really nice, atmospheric vibe piece and not overwritten, which is something I'm always a fan of, as you know.
Well, continuing my Kurosawa retrospective every Tuesday, I watched the movie Redbeard. And Friend, I don't know if you're the same as me, aka complete fucking dumbass, but I've decided to go into all of these movies blind. Head in there and be like, okay, what do you have for me tonight, Mr. Kurosawa? At about the minute 50 mark, when the film detoured for a full 30 minutes on some side characters and the main characters were nowhere to be found, I was like, oh, fuck. And I looked at my watch and I was like, Jesus. And then the subtitle intermission came up. I was like, oh, so it turned out to be a 3-hour, 15-minute movie. I've gone on record as saying, for me, the sweet spot is an hour 50. I love movies that are an hour 50. If you go over that 2-hour mark, you better have a fucking good reason.
Yeah.
And to be fair, a lot of genres, a lot of movies have a valid reason. And this movie certainly did. But it doesn't matter what I'm watching, whether it's some fucking John Wick bullshit or whatever the hell. If your movie is over 3 hours, I need to know beforehand.
It was over 3 hours?
Oh, John Wick 4 was over 3 hours.
I watched it on the plane, I think.
It's the one where he gets shot a lot and then shoots other people a lot.
Yeah, over 3 hours.
My ass remembers it very well.
Wow.
Anyway, this Redbeard is over 3 hours. And
wow, is it really? Wow.
In hindsight, it was very much like a Russian novel, those great big Russian novels where it's here are our characters. A lot is going to happen at a very slow pace that builds up to a total picture. And it was wonderful. It was just a very sweet movie. It was great to see. I mean, Jesus, Toshiro Mifune. God, there was no one like him, was there? Just a magnetic personality. Just wow, he just burns off the screen. Man.
Plus 3 hour films. Yeah, I try to think of the last time I saw one in the cinema. There was one, but I can't think of the top of my head.
Megalopolis by Coppola. That was quite, I don't think it was 3 hours, but it was certainly getting up there. It's all good. I've got to know in advance, so I can just expect the pacing that kind of demands. But never mind that, because just like the title character in this movie, this episode's topic cannot be contained. It cannot wait. We're getting into something that is honestly beloved by many. I was shocked when doing research for this movie just how big this is for a lot of people. I mean, for me, it kind of came and went as a kid, but for a lot of others, no. Heads up on this, everyone. It goes without saying that if you are one of them, thumbs up to you. Nothing Mark and I say is ever intended to ding you or mark your opinions. That's never our intent. That being said, fuck this trash pit.
Yeah, Brad's not a fan.
No. Here is a unique piece of cinema that is very, very much a product of its time. It's skating through by the skin of its Disney ILM animated teeth. For a great many reasons we'll get into, it could only have been made in the late 80s, no sooner or later. It's a film that has helped usher in a new appreciation for American animation and certainly allowed the fabled Disney Renaissance to flourish. But it's also a production that could have only been birthed by the clout of one Steven Spielberg and the sheer production gusto of Frank Marshall and Kathleen Kennedy. Yes, folks, it is 1988's Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Let's get into it. Basic summary for those like me who hadn't seen the movie since its initial 1988 outing. It's directed by Robert Zemeckis and written by Jeffrey Price and Peter S. Seaman. Set in an alternate Hollywood in the 1940s, cartoons and some of the most colorful carrots.
It does have colorful carrots in your defense.
Set in an alternate Hollywood in the 1940s, cartoons and some of the most colorful character actors you've ever seen coexist in a mostly perfect yet chaotic harmony. Eddie Valiant, a trauma-plagued private investigator, and no, I'm not talking about being saddled with a PG rating. Trust me, folks, if you thought Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in those first few X-Men movies was a character frothing at the mouth against their film's rating, well, shit, you have not seen Eddie Valiant. Wow. Oh, I want to say some things, but I can't because it's PG. Oh, I want to do some things with my dick, but it's PG. Ah!
No.
Eddie must exonerate Roger Rabbit, a megastar toon framed for a murder he really, really couldn't possibly have committed in more ways than one. And that is the movie in a nutshell. As always, we like to lead with the question, the positive question, right out the gate. Mark, what does work, actually? What works in this movie for you?
I checked with my sister, and I think this is officially the first film I saw at the cinema. I asked her yesterday, did we go and see it at the cinema? Because I felt we had, but I'd only been 6 at the time. And she said, yes, we did. I remember it well. It was a surprise after school, and we had fish and chips. Which is surprising because this film came out on the 2nd of December. Now, knowing my mum and dad, we wouldn't have probably gone the first week. So I'm going to say it would have been, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it probably would have been the week before Christmas. You know, school's kind of winding, well, I was only 6, but school's kind of winding down. I don't think we ever did that again.
Because of this movie, right? This movie absolutely fucked your family.
My dad was almost certainly asleep.
Yeah, your dad's like, we're never doing this again.
He famously fell asleep during the opening credits of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
All these turtles look the same.
All he remembered was, he calls it, to this day, he calls it Teenage Mutant Whinging Turtles. But anyway, we went to see this film, and I did remember it, and I had a big thing about eyes when I was a kid. The eyes that Doom reveals towards the end of the film freaked me out for a long time. But again, I was only 6. So the question was, what works in the film?
Well, before we get into it, so the question I do want to ask you is, so you saw it in 1988, just like myself. Had you seen it since?
I'm saying no. There's a chance I did, but I know that because I was quite scared of the eyes, my mum probably would have steered me away from it. The things I remember about it are snippets and moments. You know, there's a horrible bit where the shoe is put into the dip. And even the other day when I watched it, I was like, I don't like that. I suppose that's a testament to the animators, but no, even as a kid, maybe I didn't formulate this thought as clearly as I am now, because any child watching it, apart from Roger, who, you know, I do think he's relatively endearing, although I know that's, you know, he's the Jar Jar Binks of his day. There's nothing in it for kids. Isn't that weird?
We'll get into that in the subsequent sections, but in this 104-minute runtime movie that cost $50.6 million and grossed $351 million, the biggest box office success in America of the year, aside from Rain Man, which, what the fuck? What does work in this movie?
Obviously, for the time, you cannot say enough about the technical aspect of it. And when he goes through that tunnel at the end into Toontown, like for you and me, it was like, whatever. But I'm sure at the time, people were like, I can't believe they've achieved this. So, I mean, I like Bob Hoskins. So there's a podcast called The Projection Booth, which I probably recommended to you before. They do very, very, very long discussions of films. And they do a very long discussion of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but they talk a lot about the novel on which it's based. Yeah, and I think they even interview him. I do remember it being a very interesting listen, but I couldn't give you many details. I probably should have listened to it again. But anyway, go out and listen to that if you want.
The 1981 novel Who Censored Roger Rabbit by Gary K. Wolfe.
Yeah, and if you read the synopsis of that, aside from the fact that Roger's in it and there is a Detective Gumshoe character, it's very different. Much, much more adult. Why, oh, why the people responsible for this film honed in on that as in Zemeckis' case, post Back to the Future film. Difficult to understand. So yeah, Chinatown will always be one of my favorite films. I do like film noir, I like femme fatales. You know, I like all of that. But what the fuck is it doing here? It's crazy. Like, it's actually crazy. I mean, you just watch it jaw open.
I was on the floor laughing / absolutely fucking shocked. Hoskins catches a ride on the tram or the train, whatever the hell, and as a kid, ripping open a packet of cigarettes and just stuffing 2 of them in his mouth. Hoskins says, yeah, thanks for the cigarettes, kid.
The lead character the main protagonist, shall we say, in your children's film is an alcoholic.
How do we know he's an alcoholic? Within 20 seconds. No, I timed it, sorry. Within 11 seconds of introducing the character, he is drinking from a bottle. That is economy, folks. That is efficiency.
Show don't tell. You got to give him that. You got an alcoholic. I can't really describe how surprised I was. I mean, obviously, I remembered it, and I remembered the basic outline of it. Watching it again, at least it's not boring. The premise is different. It's just,
I wish I could show you, friends, our faces. Mark and we're doing a lot of face palming. We're doing a lot of beard scratching. We're doing a lot of shell-shocked faces after seeing this movie, because how the fuck did this get made?
I don't know. It doesn't set up the mystery very well. Like, if we're talking about it, I didn't really have a clue what was going on, even this time. And it got to the end and, so Doom did it, but why is he a toon? Oh, it's just, what's he doing? Like, I still don't really know. I know he wanted it to kill them all, and there's a kind of a throwaway line about it, but I'm like, what?
To be fair to the movie, as you said, the idea is a fantastic one, blending live action and animation.
Yeah.
It's something that Disney himself toyed with as early as 1944 with the Three Caballeros. And it's no stretch to say that Roger Rabbit is the mostest of them all, the biggest and the well-known hybrid animation live action. And hey, who doesn't love a private investigator in LA in the 40s? It's a cool setting. Why not? Also, I really miss movies, and I think you do too, Mark, that are filled with character actors.
Yeah.
There's no winking TV stars or up and comers or influencers or models or whatever the fuck. It's just worn out faces that have no business being projected on the big screen playing downtrodden characters. Oh, I love it.
No business going outside, really. I mean,
No.
they wouldn't be allowed now, would they?
The only names I recognized, Hoskins and Lloyd. Everyone else was just the most unique faces, the most like, hey, I love some tunes, love. And it just, whoa, it's just sweaty. And
you didn't recognize Stubby K, real name Bernard Shalom Kotzin. I mean, vaudeville, I think there are probably aficionados out there who would be like, oh, look, there's good old Stubby Kane and there's Charles Fleischer. And, but yeah, generally speaking, very, worn out looking people, which is great.
It works perfectly because the movie is so wacky and batshit, of course, with a little animation and adult comedy, that having a sea of humans that are in the movie that aren't recognizable. It's not like, oh, there's Tom Selleck. Oh, hey, here's Paul Giamatti coming in for a cameo.
Space Jam, which is a similar kind of thing, does have loads of. There's Bill Murray, and obviously they're all the NBA players, because they felt like, and the most recent Space Jam, oh my God, they felt the need to prop it up, and this is like that.
So we have to get to our next question.
Well, you didn't answer. What do you think worked about it, Brad? Come on.
There's a movie called Dave Made a Maze. And despite what I'm about to say, is actually worth a watch. I mean, Mark likes unique cinema. This is unique. But it was a movie all about a man who, for one reason or another, retreats from his life. Like, I think he's fired from work or something. And he's at his apartment and he starts to build this cardboard box kind of fort. And just he keeps building and he keeps extending the cardboard fort until he actually gets lost inside this cardboard maze. And his roommates, girlfriend, have to go into the cardboard maze and find him. That's the movie. The reason I bring this up, well, I remember reading a review afterwards which summarized everything perfectly. And the review was quite simply, who the fuck was this made for? Just from what I've told you, that sounds like a charming kind of Pixar-ish story, right? Like you could imagine that working for an audience, young and old.
Yeah.
But this movie that I'm talking about plays it very serious, very depressed. So the whimsy of the story inherent falls flat. And I feel that way about this movie too. It's like kids aren't getting prostate jokes.
No, I know.
What 6-year-old kids like?
Oh, Dad, I gotta say, I was on the fence about this movie. I just wasn't sure if I was the target audience. But then Betty Boop came into it, and oh, she just turned me right around, Dad. Wowza!
I know. It's
And the jokes about being an alcoholic. Oh, wow, what a gutbuster, Daddy. Jeez, did you see me crying? Oh, jokes about people drinking themselves to death. Oh, what original comedy.
Yeah, I know. And
I'll say this. You remember certain bits from being a kid, and so do I. I remember the eyes. I remember the dip. But weirdly, I remember when Hoskins is talking to Betty Boop, and it's a shot that's kind of framed from his shoulders looking at him. She says, like, I don't know, boop, boopy doop, whatever the hell she says. Hoskins has this, I don't know, perfect smile or perfect look on his face. And he says, yeah, you still got it. It's so kind, and it's so genuine and warm. I remember that as a kid. I remember him saying, yeah, you still got it. Even though the character he's talking to, I didn't know, and I didn't understand the reference, but just, isn't that weird? The things that kind of stick in your mind.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's quite fascinating to have had that length of time without having seen it. And then get these, like, there's a slightly changing tack, but I watched a really good video yesterday on YouTube about Longlegs.
Also rated PG.
Is it really? Is it?
No, no.
It wouldn't surprise me. Spikima, Spikima, who is the YouTube channel. And the video is called When a Film Triggers Your Childhood Fear. And he makes some really good points about how images get stuck when you're children and you have to reckon with them at some point. Either you reckon with them then or they come back to you later. And he makes a really good point. Little spoiler for Longlegs. There's kind of a jump scary bit where she opens a box and she suddenly sees a picture that she took and she then remembers, oh my God, that's what I've been suppressing. And that's what I was so scared of. And he says that contrasts with how we as an audience first see that character, quite mundane. In fact, people laughing at him. And how some audiences were they felt like, well, why would you belittle this scary character? But he makes the good point that the visceral reaction is based on our protagonist's reaction to that person when she was a child. So it has a huge impact for her as a child. And when we watch it through her eyes, he's terrifying. But when we watch it without her intervention, he's quite mundane, quite silly, and way over the top. And people, you remember that scene in the film where he goes to the store and the woman's like, the fuck are you doing? And I thought that was quite an interesting way of looking at it. That's a long way around to say that it's always fascinating to me how our memory works and how we have certain things that, the eyes is an obvious thing, but yeah, how certain things jump out. Either it could be good or it could be bad. It could be compassionate or it could be scary. Generally probably scary would stick. Yeah, and I don't think that any of the people making this film were trying to traumatize anyone. I'm not saying that, but the introduction of incredibly adult themes and adult imagery is shocking. It's just shocking.
The way the dip scene was done.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's been cut after the fact, but like once that shoe goes in, the editing is a little bit off.
Yeah. And
it feels like certain frames have been trimmed.
Yeah.
They definitely knew, well, this scene is probably going to fuck up some kids. So they were aware of certain content in the movie being too much for kids. And certainly Spielberg himself has been really, really good. Whenever he's producing a project, he's always on that. That's why he made We're Back, a dinosaur's tale, because he thought that Jurassic Park was a bit too scary for kids. So making an animated dinosaur thing was kind of like his, well, how about this?
Yeah.
Smart. What else is smart? What I did love, something I miss so much now, and maybe you do too, the sets. Practical sets, that kind of blockbuster lighting and so just these big sets. I was just like, oh, look at that. That's gorgeous.
Yeah, that's one reason why I'll always love Hook, because of the sets. It is,
there you go. Yeah.
It is 90% because of the sets, actually. As you say, the way they're lit, it is obviously a set, but it has such charm. And again, production design, you couldn't really fault it. And again, technically, we're not talking about that specifically today, but technically fantastic. And if I can, the score, I messaged you and you agreed the last 30 minutes, Silvestri gives it 1,000% trying to score it. And actually, it's interesting because as often happens, and everyone knows this is basic film 101. If you take the score away, it would have a very different tone and feeling to it, but he is scoring the shit out of it. And I always think when I hear such a bombastic score, I always feel a bit like, they realize this isn't really working. So they're going to have to inject it with everything we're supposed to feel. You know what I mean?
What I thought was marvelous in terms of screenwriting and in terms of effective visual storytelling, I forget the term that you use so well, when they explain something from a TV channel or something, or a news clip.
It's diegetic exposition.
Diegetic exposition is, as you mentioned, is overused. It's lazy. It's dangerous. This movie, I think, doesn't do it that way. It's the scene where Hoskins, he falls asleep drunk at his desk, and the camera just slowly pans over Eddie's ruined life. Like it moves over to the brother's side of the desk. It pans down the cobwebs. It goes through all his old case files. It tells the story visually and quite short. It's only maybe 30 seconds long. But I thought that was very well done. There's a lot of information about the character and even about the world in that 30 seconds.
Yeah, I mentioned exposition earlier. I think it does quite a good job of visual exposition, non-verbal exposition. And I think, for a kid's film, you'd probably want a little bit more. I mean, even the Hoskins, maybe I blacked out. I don't know, but I knew it was to do with his brother. That's my brother's seat, which again is quite an economic way of saying a lot of my problem is because of that. You'd have to say, for a kid's film, it's surprising they didn't feel it was necessary. Well, first of all, why is that storyline in it? But anyway, they didn't feel it necessary to explain a bit more. And then the callback with Judge Doom doing the voice of it's quite chilling, actually. It is quite a chilling moment, to be fair. I don't think a film made now with that audience, with the intended audience, would have an alcoholic going through such a thing. But they might say I lost they do still use that, but in this very hard way, I doubt it. But yeah, I think that's true. It definitely does not suffer from what most of the films we talk about suffers from, which is that kind of exposition. Yeah.
Speaking of chilling moments, the scene where Hoskins steps out of his bathroom topless. That's a lot of hair. That's a lot of hair for a big budget studio tentpole picture.
To see a film where, no, we're not worried about that. And we're actually going to show him just wandering around as he would be if he really did exist. I mean, I don't know how that would have played if it were Harrison Ford or Robert Redford. It would have been quite different with Robert Redford. I wonder if they rewrote the scene, but I love it. Like, I'm all for odd shapes and odd characters.
Odd shapes, go for it. But just like I cannot believe someone didn't say like, should we wax him?
To Robin Williams, isn't it? Is it Jumanji where there is one film where Robin Williams is topless, famously hairy Robin Williams.
Bicentennial Man, he is trimmed,
is he?
Quite a bit.
Well, that's good to know.
There's some toning that's been going on there. Whereas this, the way that the light catches just the shoulder fluff alone, it's like
to a modern audience, that'd probably be the first thing that would be censored. Yeah.
The beginning of the year, someone's got a goddamn birthday in January. Fuck! What are you gonna buy for them, huh? They like books? Well, I recommend Momo and Matsu, the director's cut by this idiot who's speaking to you right now. Cheaper than a visit to the doctor to get that thing shaved off that you hope no one's noticed yet. Sorry, everyone has noticed it. In a desperate attempt to show you that I'm not the absolute fucking hack that I sound like I am, I'm going to read some reviews of the book. Now, I'm not going to flood you with review after review after review, but basically because there's not that many. But I will read this one review to you, which I thought was pretty lovely. Yeah. 5 stars, absolutely no hesitation in giving this 5 stars. I loved it. Matsumoto is a weary, tired old man. He doesn't have any hobbies and drives a train for a living. In fact, he seems to just sleepwalk his way through life. One day, all of this changes when a young girl hurls like she's a fucking weapon. She just dives in front of a train. Roar! One day, all of this changes when a young girl hurls herself in front of his train, upon her body exploding upon impact. And who the fuck is going to read my book after reading this? Like, oh, Jesus Christ, there's a young girl who hurls herself in front of a train and her body explodes. I mean, technically, this reviewer isn't lying. That does happen. Now, the fact that Matsumoto couldn't do anything about this hurling, he still somehow gets the blame. The last thing that Matsumoto noticed about the little girl, little girl? Dude, she's a teenager. It's not like a fucking 4-year-old just like, oh, here comes a train. Yeah! That's not how it works. Anyway, the last thing that Matsumoto noticed about the little girl before she flung herself from the platform was that she seemed to be smiling at him. Ooh. Just as Matsumoto is finally starting to feel defeated. What? Oh yeah, woohoo! Finally! This son of a bitch is almost about to just give up. Yes! Just as he's finally starting to feel defeated, he finds a little girl. Look, dude, again with the little girl. Now you're making this sound really sus. Okay? No, she's well, mind you, her being a teenage girl doesn't make it any less sus, does it? But I promise, in the book, not a sliver of sexual tension. No. It is not that kind of book. He finds a little girl sitting on the edge of the bed who goes by the name Momo. This is where the book starts. What? by that point, it's like chapter 4, but okay. The initial interactions between Momo and Matsu were one of the highlights of the book. Momo following him around and basically haunting him in a playful way. One of the funniest encounters was when Matsumoto flung a fistful of beans in her bemused face. Following on from these encounters, Momo and Matsu begin a strange mission, the goal of which is never voiced by either character, but they both seem to know and understand it. Along with menacing shadow men and a few comedic slapstick scenarios, think Mr. Bean does horror and you won't be too far off. Oh, what the fuck? Really? I mean, I'm not one to throw stones. Quite possibly that is how it comes across. And hey, a Mr. Bean horror I would totally watch. Bunch of like university kids. They get stuck in a house with Rowan Atkinson. He's all like, Teddy. Only British listeners would get that kind of terrible impression. But anyway, you also get Mogu, an old pug who snots and sneezes all the time. He's grey under the chin and his back legs aren't as strong as they used to be. Mogu actually narrates a chapter or two in his doggy style, and whilst he doesn't play a huge part in the story, he still feels integral to it. This really was a charming little book. Okay, it's over 350 pages. It's not that little. Now I'm overcompensating. So there you have it. An actual human being person wrote that about my actual book. Were they right or wrong? You be the judge. How about we get back to the show? And hey, mates, friends, folks, thank you so much. Shall I tell you about the original casting list?
Yeah. The original. Okay.
Who do you think was
Harrison Ford? Harrison Ford?
Yeah. Who do you think was Spielberg's first choice? Well, yes, it was Harrison Ford.
Playing it just like Blade Runner, yeah.
But he was asking for too much money.
Was he?
And the second choice was Chevy Chase, but he wasn't interested. Bill Murray was also considered, but due to his answering machine stuff, he didn't get the call. Eddie Murphy turned it down. Robin Williams, Robert Redford, Jack Nicholson, Sylvester Stallone, Edward James Olmos, Wallace Shawn, Ed Harris, Charles Grodin, and Don Lane were also considered.
Wow.
Bob Hoskins was chosen by Spielberg because of his acting skill and because Spielberg believed he had a hopeful demeanor and looked like he belonged in that era, which is a load of bullshit.
A hopeful demeanor?
Who the fuck looks at old Bobby Hoskins and goes, that guy is a hopeful soul?
I mean, as I was watching it, I did think they were all high on the hog at that time, obviously, and all definitely high on cocaine at that time as well. And having never done it, but having seen people who have done it, it does have that whiff of overindulgence of certain illicit substances. But again, huge success. I mean,
huge success.
Again, we have to remember the time period. I think the parents probably enjoyed it. It would have, connected to a lot of films that they really like. But they must have literally been dragging the kids in. Well, I don't know, though. I don't know. Because again, it has those characters. It has that, the little piano sequence, which I think is quite cute. It's much, much more adult than it is kid.
Much, much more. And it seems like it was made for boomers and boomers only. Zemeckis had final cut. Say what you will about Cool World, and you can say a lot about Cool World, but at least that does something with an adult concept that's kind of laid into it, kind of. Trying to get this show back on the rails. What is the first mistake this movie made? And I think you mentioned it quite well. The book it's based on, it was put out in 1981, and Disney bought the book right from the get-go. Now, for some reason, they were so high on making it, they tapped Spielberg. Now, in the 80s, Spielberg, aside from making amazing films and doing all the things that he did, he really had a friendly bug up his ass about Disney. He wanted to beat Disney. He wanted to be Disney. So he had Amblimation. He had Land Before Time. He had Five Goes West, all those movies. He had Amazing Stories. He had Gremlins. He was churning out a lot of what Disney kind of made in the late 90s. I remember an interview with famous horror legend Mick Garris. When Mick Garris wrote Hocus Pocus, he brought that to Disney. And because he'd kind of gotten his start with Spielberg. Apparently, Spielberg said to him on the down low, "Oh man, why'd you do that? You should have brought this to me." There was some kind of rivalry going on between Disney and Spielberg back then, but they didn't care about that. They brought him on board and said, "Look, you're the guy to get this made. Here's all the fucking money. Go for it." Just wow.
The writers of this film went on to write Wild Wild West, Doc Hollywood, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Last Holiday, and Shrek the Third is what they went on to write. I don't know what got them this gig. You suspect this is one of those cases where, yes, they are the people that produced the screenplay, but there were an awful lot of big beasts who were pushing it in this direction, and Zemeckis, you'd think, basically wrote it.
But funnily enough, for this one, because you are right, that always happens. You get a bunch of writers to kind of bring the script into existence, and then it kind of shifts hands as the production team morphs and changes. But for this movie, they took the first couple of passes. They wrote the first drafts of the script. Then, Spielberg came on, and then certain Disney people were saying this and that, and then Zemeckis came on, and Zemeckis brought back these screenwriters to bring it home.
Bring it home.
To answer the question, what was the first mistake the film made, writing-wise? I'm determined to get this podcast back on the fucking rails. Look, let me know if I'm wrong here. I think your tolerance is different than mine, but the biggest mistake, writing-wise, is centering the film around the most annoying, get the fuck off the fucking screen animated character I've endured in quite a while. And let me tell you, with kids being young, I've endured Cocomelon, I've endured Pink Fong, I've endured a lot of shit. But Roger Rabbit, his voice, his mannerisms, the fact that the opening cartoon goes on for 4 fucking minutes. Oh, like the bit where, what is he doing? He's talking about my cousins and my cousins' cousins and my daughter's cousins. He just keeps going and going and going. And
if you look at pure screen time, taking away that opening cartoon, he's not really in it that much. And yet
still too much.
Every minute with him feels like
every minute is flames against my feet.
Not everyone agrees with you though. Where is Ebert said, sheer enchanted entertainment from the first frame to the last. A joyous, giddy, goofy, celebration of the kind of fun you can have with a movie camera. He writes, the opening cartoon is a masterpiece. I can't remember the last time I laughed so hard at an animated short.
Okay.
It's a bit like a lot of the stuff that came out after the Second World War. People weren't thinking clearly. There must have been.
That's going to be the quote that begins this fucking episode. It's a bit like after World War II, isn't it? People weren't thinking straight.
Well, they weren't. They were doing all kinds of. It's what we were promised after the pandemic, which never transpired, did it? But, that kind of, fuck it, we got the money, we're going to do it. I mean, again, as a kid, I do really remember that opening cartoon. And yeah, I am a little bit kinder on Roger than you are. I like maybe because I like his design and I just kind of tuned out what he was saying. And then you've got the elephant in the room, Jessica Rabbit. Hoskins didn't know what he didn't know what she was going to look like. Apparently, obviously he was just told react as though it's the most incredible thing you've ever seen, kind of thing. As a character in a children's film, I can't think of many less appropriate designs than that. Can you?
Oh, you mean Tits and Legs McGee, who, when she's introduced, shows her leg first and then her breasts before her face is even shown.
I know.
You mean the Jessica Rabbit, who, when Bob Hoskins kind of headbutts her breasts, makes the boom noise. You mean that character?
And it's funny because her face is not animated at all, emotionally animated until right at the end. She does. There's one reaction shot.
The dip, where she freaks the fuck out about dip. Yeah.
I would quite happily go on a feminist rant about it because it's shameful male gaze, obviously. No animation on the face whatsoever. You can't even see really her face. And there's so many allusions to she's with Roger because he's such a good lay. She's also fucked Goofy. There's a little reference to that at one point. You're better than... And I'm just watching it I really don't think I'm a prude, but it's really, really quite cringy and embarrassing.
How do you feel about what they've done to her on the ride at Disneyland?
I don't know. What have they done to her?
Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin is a ride at Disneyland. I think it's in Florida. Is it still in California? It's still in Tokyo.
Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin.
Cartoon Spin.
Okay.
Jessica Rabbit comes in at the end, and they've put her in a yellow overcoat.
Did they?
Yes. She's now, quote unquote, a detective.
I see. Yeah, I see her.
How do you feel about that? This hypersexualized character in a PG rated film, a couple of decades later, someone being like, put on some of them clothes, lady. Hide those gams.
Depends which wave of feminism I adhere to, I suppose. I'm just reading this in real time. They've actually literally covered her up. I watched quite a lot of noirs and Double Indemnity and Chinatown. They're always a femme fatale, but due to the date, the time in which they were made and the codes that they had to adhere to, they were covered up. Still very sexually alluring. But this is the most balls out, very, very, and all right, she's an animated character, but we're going to make this very, very, very overtly sexual. I'm not saying the film shouldn't have been made. I'm not even saying it should be censored, but it's just deeply inappropriate. It just is.
Why do you think they made the story choices they did? And here, I'll set this up for you. The movie encapsulated in one moment. I found it. I picked it out. Okay. At about the, 20, 30-minute mark of the movie, some cops are looking through the Acme factory. One cop grabs a black hole. Hey, seen one of these? And he does the gag. And then another cop, hey, guys, does the gag. The gag being a cartoon interacts with real-world physics. Meanwhile, Bob Hoskins icily stares death at them. And that's the film. That's the whole film. It's a bunch of no-face idiots being like, look at this. And then the film does it for over 100 minutes. I mean, Christ, in that scene alone, Tits McLegs saunters through the shot, and then a corpse is wheeled out on a stretcher surrounded by animated fucking squeaking shoes. Like, what the slippery fuck is this? Like, what?
It adheres quite strongly to a lot of those classic noir films. The plot actually doesn't make any sense. That I think it's maybe To Have and Have Not. I can't remember. One of the Bogart films, I remember in a film class, us trying to work out what the fuck was going on. And actually, the plot literally didn't make any sense. And this is quite similar. Acme's killed. Roger's framed. See, I can't even follow it now when I'm trying to think about it. The police chief is involved, isn't he?
Not really.
Why was
Judge Doom is buying up all the land?
Yeah.
So he can, to be fair, this got me. It didn't get me as a kid because, of course, went right over my head. But like the whole Judge Doom, like freeways, fast food restaurants, and billboards as big as you could see them, Marty. Like, just great. I thought that was that's pretty good. It's gonna be beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm slipping more and more into Pacino. Hooah! This is a movie. Mickey Mouse, during his appearance, says, "Aha! You could get killed." Oh boy! That's the first line Mickey says, or thereabouts. Hoskins is plummeting to his death. Mickey's like, hey pal, you're totally fucked. The way you're falling, when you hit the pavement, it's gonna be messy. Hey Bugs, you want to see what this guy's insides look like? Oh, so do I. Oh, I've been waiting for years. Fucking Walt would never let me see the carnage, but now I get to see every last morsel on the motherfucking pavement. Yeah.
They're all really like sadistic, aren't they? I mean they are anyway. The Warner Brothers cartoons always kind of were, but the Disney cartoon characters, seeing them perverse in their enjoyment of sadism, like it's.
I'm gonna make a meat suit. Oh boy!
But even the weasels as well, laughing themselves to death, basically autoerotic asphyxiation, like really stunned me at times. Like they were enjoying the death. They were enjoying their own demise. And you're watching it like, I honestly couldn't believe it. No wonder I was 6 years old. I watched this.
Isn't it fascinating though, that we saw this as kids and we didn't get any of it? Like this makes me feel really emboldened to show some of the most inappropriate shit to my sons, because these dumb little kids are not going to get it. They'll just be like, bright colors, that was awesome.
But did it sink into our psyche, Brad? I mean, I've read some of your books.
Yeah. Did you see that random shot where like Hoskins walks into the bar and he talks to one of the guys at the bar? And the guy is a mute. He can't speak. He just writes it down on a piece of paper and he's gone.
Yeah.
What the fuck was that? What was the point of that? Why was that guy there? What the fuck?
So much of the middle of the film is like that. Like I was really trying to focus on it, but I found it hard. I found it hard to latch onto anything. The beginning and the end are memorable, but I think as a kid, the middle just blurred into nothingness because I didn't know what I was following.
Oh, Christ. Question 5. Does it try to add anything new to the genre or the template? And yes, it does. It had been done before, but it had never been done to this scale and never been done, honestly, so successfully in terms of box office results, successfully in terms of pop culture. That ride is still there at Disneyland. I can't say I've seen much Roger Rabbit merch in a while.
You mentioned earlier the Three Caballeros. I actually watched Bedknobs and Broomsticks the other day.
They fight Nazis in that, right?
Well, but it's Nazis on a mischievous. He actually says we're just doing a bit of mischief. Don't worry. No swastikas, no lightning strikes, no actual Nazi insignia.
That was Hitler's greatest trick, by the way, just telling Europe, just a bit of mischief.
But yeah, obviously Bedknobs and Broomsticks, maybe more famously Mary Poppins, interaction with animated characters. And I still find it more charming than 99.9% of CGI interaction. So,
hell yes.
I think kids they would definitely still enjoy the color of it, the bounciness of it. One thing the film does, when it does get a bit bogged down with alcoholism and trauma, it will inject a random sword or, shoe or whatever. So maybe they know a lot more than we do. Well, they definitely do.
Definitely do. Yeah.
Yeah, the balance of it obviously worked. It doesn't feel like it did, but the numbers kind of don't lie. And the critical reaction then and its continuing legacy would suggest it worked.
Did you ever see the Brendan Fraser movie Monkey Bone?
I'm aware of it, yeah.
And that was another kind of movie that was, here's the real world mixed in with animation, stop motion animation, and it's a little bit raunchy, it's a little bit edgy, and that completely flopped on its face. So the track record of when animation tries to be edgy and kind of hit all the quadrants of the audience, the chances are it flops on its face far more often than it succeeds. And apparently this succeeds. That being said, Mark, our final question, what scenes or characters or changes do you think would have made this movie better?
Could it, can it, would it ever work to combine that really bitter, hard-boiled detective story with children animation? And again, if you go back to probably early 1988, late 1987, you walk into a meeting with those guys and you'd be like, stop right now. The first Space Jam, I liked it as a kid, that combination works a lot better. They keep it pretty fucking simple and just have it as a game. And I used to be, I liked that combination well. So it's a really tough one to answer because you couldn't, well, obviously you can take out, maybe rebalance it a bit, change Jessica Rabbit, get rid of the alcoholism, smoking, as you mentioned. But then what are you then creating? Sort of, it would be a bit of a nothing film then, wouldn't it? So I don't know. It's a hard one to answer.
Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, true.
Does a lot of what this movie does. That is very much, I suppose, this generation's version of here's real actors with animated characters.
Yeah, and those Sonic films do really well as well.
Oh, Sonic goes down well in this household.
Yeah. We
love those Sonic movies.
But yeah, Detective Pikachu, it squarely goes towards the children's side of thing. Maybe they watched this and thought, yeah, that framework, that juxtaposition does work okay, because you can keep introducing more and more characters because the way the story progresses, you can do that.
You've got a slight mystery involved there. You've got your plucky sidekick with the rapid fire jokes. You've got the whiz-bang kind of action sequences. You've got your heartfelt ending. My idea for changes for the better, maybe not a good idea, but it's what I came up with. I would have loved to have seen Mickey be the lead instead of Roger.
Yeah.
He's a character that I think the public at large have this built-in innate love for, especially during the 80s and 90s. Mickey became the icon of the company. There wasn't really that much Mickey stuff being made. And of course, if you did make it Mickey in this, you'd have to change the gags and definitely Jessica and things like that. But who wouldn't want to see Mickey slowly melting the heart of a broken and closed off human? I would love to see a movie where, Mickey is the biggest animated star in this world, and he's framed for a murder he didn't commit. He's saddled with this grumpy detective. I think the framework works just as well, if not better, with Mickey.
Yeah, maybe you read it as well. Apparently they, or Disney said, or Warner Brothers said that they had to have the same screen time, right? Daffy and Donald were to be in it. They were always paired. Maybe that didn't happen because of that. Maybe they had to invent a new character because of that issue, that both sides would have said, well, you can't, because I mean, there's no, that you could have had Mickey and Daffy. It would have been quite an interesting combination. There's no reason you couldn't have done, I suppose. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think then you would automatically be going much more kid friendly, which they should have done. Having said all of that, I am glad it exists. In spite of what we're saying, in spite of how we may be flabbergasted, I'm still glad it exists. I'm still glad there are these outlier, weirdo things that get made sometimes. No one really knows why it's happened. I still am glad it exists.
Yeah, I suppose I would agree with you. Yes.
Well, especially if you compare to a lot of the things we watch and talk about. I'm very happy if none of those Fantastic Beasts films existed. I don't feel that about this.
Thank you very much for joining us for this episode. We hope you had a good time. And again, if you're a big fan of this movie, really, we weren't out to go after you. If anything, please let us know, like, how has this film lived with you over the years? How is it your favorite? I would genuinely love to have a beer with someone who this movie is their favorite and just be like, huh.
Except for those people that tried to buy the Laserdisc edition of this, where it apparently showed Jessica nude in a couple of slowed down. So there's a thing that you can't see it, but if you had a Laserdisc, you could slow it down enough so you could see her nude. I don't have a beer with those people, thank you. Deviant art is its legacy, if you think about it.
Oh, let's not even.
Well, I mean, it's true.
Do not invoke. Yes. Or fucking Rule 34. You shouldn't invoke those demons.
It's legacy. I mean, like I said, it is just weird. It's an anomaly. And I like anomalies. I like successful anomalies. I think there's a lot to be said for them. And there's no sequel.
Want to get in touch with us, your favorite movie podcast? Jump on Instagram at WrittenOffPod. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you'd like to see us cover. We have a ton of content coming your way in 2026. So much delights to be discovered. Don't believe me? Well, I don't really blame you for that. Here, have a listen to our next episode coming in 2 weeks, all about that classic cinema franchise that came out of nowhere and is still continuing to this day. Yes, mates, we're covering the first entry in the Purge franchise. And, well, Mark isn't that happy about it. Here, have a listen. I've seen all the sequels, and I've watched and I've seen the TV show as well. So I am purgified, but I never saw them all at the cinema.
Have you really seen all of them? Wow. I don't know whether I'm impressed or disgusted.
You can find me at Brad_is_writing on Instagram. And yep, you know the drill. You cannot find Mark on any social media. As always, folks, stay safe. Grab a slice. Mark, what are you going to say for yourself?
Bye.
Bye. Written Off is hosted by me, Bradley Freeman, and Mark Tasker. It's produced by the both of us, and it's edited by me. Our theme music is by Skane, and our artwork is by Sketchfro. This has been a Pugnacious Podcast production.